Hey everyone, this is Disc Junkie, and welcome back to the Mancave of Madness. So for today I have a kind of short video, or so I'm hoping. That's what I'm sort of planning for. And the idea is that I would actually try to show you a bit of the hallway, as we've decided to call it. It's basically one of those sort of not really particular rooms on the upstairs. It's basically just a sort of connection between the various rooms of the second floor man cave. And I haven't done so much in this room. I haven't really had a lot of plans for this room, but recently I did actually fix some things in here. And I'm not going to do like a whole time-lapse sequence today, because I think it's actually not going to be too interesting to see a time-lapse of this, but I do really want to show you what I've been doing. So let me go ahead and flip the camera and let's just get into it. And so right off the bat, I'm actually going to go ahead and turn on the fisheye lens function, like so, just to get a bit of an easier idea of what this room looks like. And as you can see, I do have some posters put up on the wall here, which I just sort of had them in storage when we were moving. And this is the classic Phantasm poster, as well as this, I can never remember what this poster is called, but it's basically just this fantasy character which has a bunch of these classic movie guns on the wall behind her. And it's by this guy I really like. His name is Danny Miller. It's actually signed right here. This one isn't signed, but all the same. You know, I just tried to keep this room fairly clean, sort of open up. I didn't want too much stuff in here, but I still wanted to experiment quite a bit with how much movies I could show and basically turn this into a display area which wasn't so cluttered with stuff, or at least that was the idea I had. And if you remember in the original video when we moved in here and we set stuff up, I actually had a desk in this corner. This was basically where my girlfriend was set up to sort of work when she was working from home, but we actually removed this desk, and she had this idea that she basically wanted to move the desk into the other room, the larger man cave room, because there's a window in there, and she had this idea that she really wanted to work in there so she could watch the horses through the window, because the horses basically have their sort of confinement outside. You can basically see that from that window. And she felt that this room, you know, there's not much action going on out here. It's not really a interesting view as far as the windows is concerned. However, one of the other aspects of why we wanted to move this desk from this area was that we realized that even in like winter times, actually sitting in this spot, I can't really explain why, but it turned out that this spot is particularly warm. And I don't know if it's a question about that, you know, these elements or the heaters here that we have at the wall, if these are just overly warm. But I mean, even when we turned those down, this particular spot became absolutely unbearable to work from. I think basically it's because the staircase here, and we basically have the warmth from downstairs basically comes pouring up here in terms of, you know, like the air, like there's a certain airflow. I honestly don't know, this is just me guessing, but for whatever reason we just decided and realized that this spot is too warm. Basically you're sitting here working at the computer and you're just dripping with sweat after a while because it's just strangely hot at this particular spot. So that was one of the reasons why we decided that, you know, we can't have the desk here. And Anna suggested sort of, well, maybe we can bring the desk into the other room. And I was very sort of reluctant about this in the past. But when she suggested this, I realized that this actually gave me an interesting space in this room where I could place this china cabinet, which I've been moving around and I haven't found a place for this in any of the rooms. It just doesn't fit anywhere. And this is sort of becoming a bit of a nuisance for me now right now, because it's one of these pieces which I honestly can't find the space for. It was a little bit off even in the old man cave, and even in the apartment it was one of these things which I'm constantly struggling with to find a space for, because I'm very much about symmetry. I like to have things sort of very symmetrical feeling in each room, and this is always one of those bizarre would-be centerpieces if I'm gonna have a symmetrical feel, and it's just very big and bulky, and for now it doesn't really fit anywhere in my rooms. Then I realized, well, this is one of the few rooms which actually has a bit of height to the sort of floor to ceiling space, which meant that I could actually have this in here, because I really wanted to have something on the top of it, sort of utilize that space. But this doesn't really work in any of the other rooms because the ceiling height is too low to have anything presented on the top. So this actually worked out quite well, and this also meant that this sort of tiny cabinet could be utilized, and I decided to use this for some vintage toys which I had laying around. And since I started collecting movies and since I sort of started moving here, I've become a bit more interested in toys, so I actually dug out some of these vintage toys which I've had laying around basically in boxes since my childhood. And you can see here, I can actually open this up in case you want to get a bit of a better look at it. So first we have just some random figures. There's really no theme going on. I'm just throwing anything in here that I think looks interesting and sort of nostalgic, and basically anything that I like in terms of the design of the toys. So we got a Transformers, we got some sort of space command vehicle, and I think they're called Playmates. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's Playmates or space, something with space, something with play. Who knows? We got a He-Man figure in the corner. I don't really remember these character names, but I try to remember the brand of the figures. Then we got a bunch of these little things called laser beasts, as far as I know. And these is something that I had in my sort of toy chest from when I was a kid. And I just dug these out and realized that these are actually fairly collectible. You can actually get maybe like 30-40 bucks per figure for these. And I haven't really been interested in selling them. They've been fairly played with. Sometimes, some guys are losing an arm and stuff like that. So I don't know. I just thought they would be more fun to display and sort of keep for nostalgic value rather than sell. But who knows? And moving down one step, we get to another display shelf where I've decided to place this Action Man figure, or Satisfaction Man, I've decided to call him, and you can find him on Instagram. And then I just have some various stuff. There's this little sofa, which I don't think is actually a toy sofa. I think it's basically one of these sort of cell phone displays that were popular for a while. Then we got some more Laser Beast figures. Got another He-Man figure, got a Wall-E figure in the back. Not actually Wall-E, but Eva, obviously, but it's from the Wall-E film. And we can actually go ahead and move down. Let's try to speed this up a little bit. Here is an actual Wall-E figure. We got a Bebop figure, which is from the Turtles movie, also the new Turtles movies, which I think people don't commonly enjoy. And I'm not really a super huge fan of Turtles, but I love the Bebop character, and I love his mohawk and, little sunglasses, or what you want to call them. And so I decided to pick this up, and he didn't actually have any weapons when I got him. I know the original figure has weapons, but I didn't have any, so I just dug out this actual chain that I found in the garage. And also, if you look closely, this is actually an Inglourious Bastards promotional little baseball bat pen. It's actually a pen. If you look closely at it, at the other end there, you can see a little sort of sharp, pointy thing at the other end. So yeah, that's because this is actually a pen, promotional purposes, which I think I got off of eBay many years ago, and I haven't really had it on display, so I thought it was actually fun to keep little details like that, just basically displaying things that I think look good, and it doesn't really have to be logical in any sense. I just try to put things together, sort of. I think it was my friend Fred who did something similar and sort of inspired me, and he said that he basically had like a pop culture shrine, and I think that's actually quite fitting. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to this display set. it's basically any kind of toy that I think looks fun and good and interesting. And I mean, you can tell that here on the right we actually have an old Donald Duck figure, which is actually wooden. It's a beautiful figure, and it's actually from, I believe, like the 50s or 60s maybe. And this is something that actually came with the house, and it was really fun and really happy to discover this, because this is one of the few things left behind in the house which is basically has a little bit of worth to it. I think you can basically sell this and maybe get somewhere between 500 and 1,000 Swedish crowns, roughly, I think thereabouts. But I mean, I'm not gonna sell it because I love it. I think it's an awesome little figure. And then there's just a small robot there. And there's another little sort of wind-up toy which we found in the house. Basically not a lot of value to this, but I just think it's a sort of a fun little figure. And then obviously at the bottom down here, we do have some more Star Wars figures for one. We got a Walker figure, and we also have Chewbacca together with a couple of these Ewoks. And then we got a classic Optimus Prime figure, which is really old. It's from my youth, so I'm not sure what this is, but probably, I'm guessing, maybe mid-80s, not entirely sure. And then we also have a Minion in the back, and this personalized little Lego set, which I built myself, which is inspired from a classic scene in George Lucas' THX 1138, which is a really awesome sci-fi. If you don't know this one, it's definitely one to check out for an alternate and very early sci-fi before he made Star Wars. So THX 1138 is a really cool movie, which I really like and love very fondly. So decided to make a little Lego display inspired by that movie. But that is basically it for this China cabinet. And then below it, small little zombie Santa Claus, I suppose it is, or so, I don't know what you call, like a zombie elf maybe. It's one of these garden gnomes kind of things, which you can basically buy. I don't think they're hard to find. Just Google for like garden zombie gnome or something. I'm sure you can get this. So this is not custom made or anything. I just think I got this as a birthday present at some point. But in any case, let's just go ahead and move up and take a look at the thing on the top of this China cabinet. And I figured this is something that people haven't really seen because I haven't made a video on it. Unless, of course, you are on Instagram. You can follow me there. I go by Disc Junk TV on Instagram as well. So if you don't think that these videos are enough, be sure to check out my account there, because I do post a lot of stuff more regularly there whenever I find things at flea markets and stuff, which I don't really feel like I want to make a whole video on. I will post stuff there. So if you enjoy my YouTube content, you will probably want to check me out on Instagram as well. But in any case, this thing on top is something called a Philips Discoverer, and this is actually a vintage sort of space age type design television, which I've actually been hunting for quite a few years. And then a while back, I saw a Facebook post on this, someone selling it for 500 Swedish crowns, and it was definitely not in the best of shape. But once I got it home and I sort of cleaned it up and just basically got to work on it, it actually looks fairly good. I think it was definitely a good deal in retrospect. But yeah, so this is a vintage television. It was designed in 1983, and it was basically commissioned, I believe, it was designed as a celebration, commissioned by NASA, and it was basically a commemorative piece which was designed to celebrate the 1981 launch of the first space shuttle. So yeah, this isn't actually a 70s type television, which you might believe, like this typical sort of space age design, but it's actually a 80s product which was done in this sort of retro style fashion to commemorate the 1981 space shuttle launch. And now I'm just getting dust all over it. I thought we could actually power this on because I've actually connected it. So if I just push the power button, you will see that ever so slowly there is a TV screen turning on there in the back. Now this is actually a color television. I haven't plugged it into anything, but I would need to use basically like an old antenna wire to get this going. So I could potentially plug it up to an old VCR and actually watch movies on here, but I basically just keep it for display purposes. And I know it's not the best display place now because it's sort of hard to show you the whole thing, but you can see that it has this red plastic on the side, and this visor here is actually something you can open. So can actually tilt this up. And so if you want to, you can actually look at the movie either through the visor, or you can have it all the way up and sort of not get this sort of sunglasses type tone to it. But yeah, it's a really, really cool piece. Absolutely loving this design. And it also has, I can show you a little bit. It actually says Discover there on the top. And I don't know, guess I can just do a fairly quick sweep to try and show you a little bit of the back. I'm not really sure how visible this is, but you can probably hear the static of the black and white screen. And then if I sort of flip this again, you can just see what it looks like when I flip it up and down. And I'm actually going to turn this off because there's no real need for you to have this running while I'm doing the video. But one of the cool things about this is basically these little side knobs here. This is something that's usually broken off. All the versions I see where this is for sale, the knobs are the first thing that's broken. And I actually decided to remake these. The original knobs are red, but I basically remade these using some really simple soda bottle caps. So these are actually plastic soda bottle caps, but you would never have realized this if I didn't tell you. So yeah, I just used some bottle caps. I drilled out part of the interior so I can run a bolt with a lug nut on it. So I basically have just a bolt and a lug nut on the other side, so I can tighten this, as well as some metal spacers there behind, so not all of the pressure rods on there. But I think it works out great. Definitely looks like it could be an original piece, but it is actually not. And then I just did the exact same thing on the other side. But yeah, that is my Philips Discover TV, so really happy about that. And this was one of the few places where I found a spot where I could actually display it. So maybe not optimal in terms of the display spot, but I'm totally happy with what I decided to do there. So now I figure we might as well move along to this shelf. And this is something which I basically had from before. I had all of these IKEA shelves, but they're from the Benno brand, which was later renamed as the Gnedby. And I think the Gnedby shelf is actually out of print now. I think it's discontinued, or if nothing else, I think they are basically discontinuing it, which is bizarre because they've had this for so many years. It's basically been around since, I don't know, I think it's been around since the 90s or whatever. In any case, it's really one of their very sort of old brands. Feels like it's been around just as long as the Billy bookshelf. And it's quite similar, except of course that the Billy is deeper. This is a 17 centimeter shelf. The Billy is roughly 10 centimeters more, so it's like maybe to there, so it's a 28 centimeter shelf in depth. And the Benno, as I like to call it, I prefer to use the old name. This is 20 centimeters wide. So this is 4 shelves just stacked next to each other. And these are all shelves which I already had. It's quite common to use Billy bookshelves and then sort of use a Benno or Gnedby shelf as a sort of divider, I would say. Because if you have them sort of fronted, so you have them lining up at the front portion, you're not really going to tell that they're not as deep, because the height is exactly the same on the Billy and the Benno. It's 202 centimeters. So it's a really cool shelf to combine with the Billy, but I just had a bunch of these. I think I have basically like 10, and I wasn't really sure what to do with them. I tried to experiment with them inside of the TCM room, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre collection room, which has a door now. And that's basically only because I don't want to show you anything from that room, because I have a video coming up from that room, which is going to be a really fun project. So I'm just keeping that a bit in the dark for now. But I had a bunch of these shelves and I wasn't really sure what to do with them. And it just felt like I was moving them around throughout all the rooms. And then when this space cleared up, I just realized that, hey, it would be really cool to just spoil yourselves. Just decide to use these shelves and use them for display. You know, this is very much a place where I decided to not really think about the space I'm losing, so to speak, because I'm just placing single tapes. I could obviously get more space out of this if I just stacked the tapes in like this, because you can fit a full-size VHS or DVD in here. But I decided to go with just one tape for each shelf and basically create this whole sort of display wall of covers, because I'm all about cover design and I love this. And so I even decided to go with a bit of a theme for this shelf. And I started out basically putting up all of my copies of The Ninja Mission, which is a really cool cult classic Swedish action film, which became really big in the States even. So here are just various copies of that. We got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that it? I think that it's 6, 7 copies, sorry. So yeah, a few copies of this ninja films, and I just felt like maybe I should turn this into a ninja theme wall. So I dug out some other stuff. We got Ninja Protector, Return of the Ninja Master. Here's some Japanese sort of DVD box set series I haven't even watched, but I just thought it was really fun to sort of collect these ninja times movies, or movies with basically martial arts, because I realized that I didn't have so many ninja movies. So it started out as a ninja theme, gradually went into like a martial arts type theme with like Kill Bill and Black Eagle and a couple of these other movies which are, you know, basically just action flicks. And then I just felt like, you know what, I don't really have anything else in this theme. So then it just basically became random movies. I just picked out covers that I like. So yeah, it is definitely not a entirely red thread through this, but in any case, I thought the display became pretty cool all in all. So yeah, I think this is a really fun way to display movies, especially if you like cover art. And so then I obviously decided to do the same thing on this side, but only with 2 shelves. And this worked out really well, because this is basically pretty much the space I had on this side. I'm coming to the wall here, so I can't do much. This is basically one of the few types of shelves in terms of the depth that I could have in this spot. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. And I really love the fact that you can just take covers away and sort of experiment and just redesign this whenever you want to. But this is basically the movies I decided to put in here for now. And there's no real thread to this side either. I just put in stuff which I thought looked good. So this is all VHS tapes, obviously, but I mean, you can fit in video or DVD boxes. This is a hard box, for example. And I also love the fact that the Benno Shelf is really easy. You can see you got these stud spacings here, so you can place the individual shelves wherever you want to, and then it's really easy to just build the proper height. So you don't have to get, like, if you have a small VHS, you don't have to worry about the spacing, because you can very easily sort of adjust the spacing. Like, first I have basically clamshells which are a little bit lower, so then I get 4 at the roughly same height, and then these are a little bit larger. So as you can see, if I lift this up, this is actually too high to go in the top shelf. But yeah, it's very easy to make a nice little display grid if you have a bunch of tapes which you want to display. But yeah, I'm rambling about this, and I know this video is always gonna be longer than I think it is. So I just, oh, this is gonna be a short video, and then I ramble on for like 1 hour. Let's just move on and look at some of the other stuff in the room. You can see that here's an old sort of, I don't know if it's old, but it's like a studio type lamp, which I bought very randomly. Didn't really need it, but I just felt like, oh, I need a studio lamp, and then I bought a studio lamp. Don't think I've ever used it. It's just basically a display piece for a cinematic type feel. Then there's the porcelain elephant, which I keep dragging around. Then over here, I decided to make a small display shelf with the alien head, and this is just because I had all of my alien stuff and I didn't really have a good place for this. It felt a bit sort of misplaced wherever I put it, and it still feels misplaced. So, I mean, this isn't really a display shelf. This is basically just, you know, some office supplies and stuff. So it doesn't really fit here. I'm not entirely sure about this. I'm thinking this shouldn't really be here, but I actually had one of the local papers coming by to do like a segment on my Texas Chainsaw Massacre collection. So I really wanted to set this room up and sort of get everything together as fast as possible. And this was one of those things which I couldn't place. So I just added this here. So it's a very sort of quick and dirty setup. But yeah, I do have my DVD Alien Head box set here, as well as some other Blu-ray box sets for Alien. Some random little knickknacks, and this isn't very thought through. I don't think this is my proudest moment, but I do have this stuff here. And then obviously below, which I've shown you in previous videos, there's a little hidden compartment for storage here. So yeah, but that's it for this portion. I did put up some box sets here in the stairway, as you can see, but these are also very much just temporarily put up here. I got an old Action Force box set, a promotional box set for Minority Report, and also my 300 box, which is like a steel book and a helmet and stuff. So this is also very much thrown together. There's even a VHS there because I needed something to level out the height of the box set so I could stack them on top of each other. Not super thought through, but it's something that I've been doing. But aside from that, I don't think there's too much to talk about in this room. And it's, I mean, not even a room, it's a hallway, for crying out loud. So yeah, this is probably the only thing left, which is a recent acquiry, which I got secondhand off of the Swedish version of eBay. And this is kind of fun. I was really happy to get this. This is a vintage mirror from 1976. It was issued by the Swedish men's magazine, which is called FIB-Aktuellt. It needs a bit of context. This was done in 1976, and it's a men's magazine, and so this is printed in Swedish, obviously, but the idea is that this is supposed to replicate a magazine cover, but it's a mirror, so if you read the little byline here, it basically says that, roughly translating now, here's the image of Sweden's greatest lover, and then there's a quote which says, the women are crazy for me. And so yeah, the best lover in Sweden. You heard it here first. And I've never seen this before, but spotted this for sale at Swedish eBay, or Tradera as it's called over here. And I think I got it for it was roughly 260 Swedish crowns or something. And it's not in the best of shape. If you look closely, it's got a bunch of little streaks and cracks, and yeah, I tried to clean it up and it doesn't really get much cleaner, sadly. But just for fun, I can actually just go in here. If you give me a second, just gonna try to go ahead and dig out one of these magazines real quick. So I'll take this one. So this is just for context. I'm just digging out one of these vintage magazines. You can see that even like the format and the size is basically A4, so it's actually quite similar. There's some slight difference to the logo, but this is just because, you know, this is from 1969, whereas this is from 1976. So if you dig out a 1976 copy, I'm sure that the logo will look pretty identical. So yeah, I just think it's a really fun, cool idea. And one more thing before I go, I realized that one of the few things which has actually happened in this space since we moved in is that we've actually renovated the bathroom. This is not a man cave room, but it is a bathroom. I mean, I love this bathroom. This room also is very much in the style that it was in the 70s. And yeah, I mean, I can just show you. This is what the bathroom looks like now, once it's renovated. So yeah, we decided to keep the toilet and the bathtub, the original green, but the rest is obviously all renovated. So yeah, just a quick look at that in case anybody, for whatever reason, is curious as to what's happening here. And so that is basically it for the hallway. I'm not really sure if it was needed to make a video on this, but you know, I've had a lot of sort of big project videos, and I know I haven't posted a lot in a while because I'm basically just really tired. I don't know what it is. It feels like my energy is drained, and it's very rare that I even stay up at night to sort of watch movies and stuff. And with that being said, it's just, I don't have the energy to do a whole lot of editing. It's honestly been like, I don't know, I think it's been like a month since I sat down at the computer to try and edit one of these videos. And so I just wanted to shoot this thing on the hallway to sort of give you something which felt like it wouldn't be too much to edit, and just basically something I could shoot, quickly edit and post. But I do have a somewhat extensive video which is on the Text Chainsaw Massacre room, and so this is coming up, but I felt that this would take more time to edit, so I wanted to shoot this in between and also get a bit of a continuity to my creative process and my sort of video posting, so things are sort of in the same timeline continuity-wise. But I'm rambling again. I want to say thank you very much for watching, and as usual, hope to see you all next time.